What's up, fellas? We continue with our texture. Here we had more or less the base of the wood. And now we were going for the metal. Following a little bit the style that we are giving it, we are going to do the same thing with the metal. Okay, the first thing. The metal has to be metallic. This seems to be evidence. But we are going to raise the bar of metal to the maximum. And now I will explain why. The metals in a realistic game and in reality are 100% metal. There is not a little bit metallic or quasi-metallic or not. Or it is metallic, or it is not metallic, or it is metallic, or it is dielectric. Then the metal value has to go to the maximum in white. But when we are doing something stylized, we can break a little bit more for these rules, and so we can lower the intensity of the metal, but as long as we are in a stylized environment and we are not being asked to do anything realistic. As you can see now, when we put the metal at the maximum, it gives a more metal effect. At the opposite end, I get something less metallic. Then we are going to play with this slider until we find a point that we like. Usually metallic to the maximum and stylized doesn't have to look bad, but here I like to lower it a little bit and leave it like this. Okay, it's like a little bit less metallic. It's a bit weird, but that's okay. It's the good thing about styling is that you can break this rule as long as you understand why you are breaking it. Okay, just like we did before. With this breaking pattern, here we can also add roughness. You see that they immediately highlight those spots and adjust it. Okay, before we go on. I'm going back to metal because I haven't touched roughness at all. Well, let's adjust the roughness first. This would be something matte and this would be super reflective. Glass surface, so this is not the case. We are going to look for a metal that gives us a good metal look that looks like real metal, maybe a little bit less. That it is like worn away metal, although as we have said before in wood, we are going to exaggerate this effect with the layers that are on top of it. I'm going to try to leave it like this with a good amount of roughness, and now if we go back up again, we activate the roughness and we are going to start breaking. Like this worn away zone may shine a little bit more because it is more worn, it is more polished. Or on the contrary, it may be a stain and the roughness may be lower. This already goes by taste. Another thing we can do is to activate the height layer to give it depth. By default, we will not see anything, but if we move up or down, we will see how they protrude or go in what is our pattern. This pattern is sinking or coming out. I recommend usually sinking. And as it is difficult to sync with this slider in case we would like to sync very, very little. Okay, it's a bit complicated here to hit it. I usually go for the most exaggerated one. Change from base color to height. And here directly. With this little piece, we are going to play from 0 to 100. So now we are going to make a very fine adjustment. I lower it to 0 and raise it very, very little, almost unnoticeable. Back to the base color. Here we have adjusted the roughness. Also now maybe with the elevation we may be interested in seeing another type of roughness maybe already. I don't like the fact that it shines more and I like it to be a more matte or something like that. Let's see what we have here. These spots we are going to touch roughness also of this. Let's make it break a little bit all the roughness of the metal. Let's check the spots. Okay, these spots here, I am interested. They have roughness. And that they are also quite intense enough for the scratch to be noticeable. In fact, even if we remove the color and leave only the roughness would also be interesting. It would be necessary to exaggerate a little more. Oh, in fact, it might be even more interesting than a color. Or we can select the color and lower that color more to have a little bit of color, but above all, the reflection is the roughness. We can also play with the height to see how it looks like. I'm going to lower it a little bit. This is a bit dangerous because of the resolution we have. But let's do it again. Let's go to the height and adjust this height. Something very, 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 very subtle, just a little bit. So that when the light comes through, you can see that those scratches are really still there. Okay, a little bit less. I don't want it to be realistic. Okay, and I don't want it to have a lot of noise. Something like this, I return to the base color and we continue upwards for the edges to see what were. Same for these little edges, roughness. And then here the roughness remains because this is wear and tear and will have to surely reflect more. Because if we say that it reflects less, it is going to look weird. So this is always a little bit more polished when it wears out more. Let's see how it looks here, okay? Here I am seeing a weird pattern. I think it's the lines. Yes, it can be. How this is mapped is by UVs. Okay, let's change it to triplanar. Okay, let's see the difference. Triplanar. Here you can't see it due to the ambient occlusion. Okay, maybe we are not so interested in it. That ambient occlusion, let's tweak it a bit. And let's see it. Okay, I think it's better because it was doing some formation up there, and in that pattern it was too noticeable. Okay. Okay, I'm missing a green. I think I commented before. I'm going to add a green over here, some green spots. Just color. Oh, the metal always has a little bit of green in it. Let's put some green here. And this with a black mask. Let's look for a fill. Let's check some interesting one. Let's try the cells, not these. Let's see these. Something more like this. Let's break them with a filter of blur slope. Okay, now I will try another filter. You have warp. Okay, maybe it will give a metallic effect, but I'm not sure about it. Let's see. This green one. Here we change the fusion mode. Let's try with multiply. The tone is a little bit off. We are going to try it. With screen, very light. Linear burn. Overlay, you will have to play and try out different ones. Maybe a very weak additive, let's see. It could be, but I believe I would keep the multiply. The bad thing is that the good green barely stays to be seen. Even normal and lower. Yes, it could be normal and lower, and now just adjust here. The tone. This green is not bad. Let's make it more subtle and let's touch its roughness. A little less color. And the roughness softer. Okay, if sometimes it doesn't mix the roughness well, go to roughness. And it is possible that the mode of roughness of the mixture is not the right one. Right now it is in normal, but we can still adjust it. And make a screen, for example, to go mixing. The different roughness values, they don't have to be exactly what the program gives you. And in fact, since they are all set to normal, this is also in normal. You can play around trying other fusion modes to make a different roughness. And if here it is in overlay, it looks better than in normal mode. and we are getting different shades of roughness, not just the normal mode. Okay. I need to be careful that it doesn't generate so much stain. Let's see from a distance. Well, I don't completely dislike it. Let's give a little finishing touch to this metal texture with a classic, which is to make a fill layer. To make the scratches, these scratches are going to be clear. For now, only black mask color and a fill. Of scratch, I am going to look here for scratch. These ones that come in substance are very, very good. We throw it there, you see, and they are also super configurable. Let's see with alt-click the mask. Well, and then we are going to begin to tinker with our scratches, both the scale and the UVs that are in projection. We can directly change it to triplanar. And okay, I don't want them to be too small or they will be lost in the distance. Okay, even if we are texturing close from time to time, we can move away from time to time to check the result from further. And now we are going to adjust. Okay, it's good that there are scratches, but it's not necessary to overdo it. Amount of scratches. Tiling. A little bit of blur. The length is good that it's long. That's cool. A mask to break them. This is to make them cleaner or less clean. A little bit like that, maybe. The spots that are the little spots apart from the scratches can be lowered a little bit. Okay. Let's see how it is. A little bit more spots might go. Okay, let's try with these. This is obviously super rough. I am going to put in additive, for example, and a softer color on something like this. And I'm going to lower it because I think that the grace is going to be that it will have a height and sync it. This really can be a little more roughly, since scratches are usually seen quite a lot. Okay, now I doubt that the color will suit me. We are going to set a normal mode and a darker color. Without going over something more like this. And if there are many, nothing happens. We go here and reduce. Okay, I think I've removed too many. A few more there. Roughness also. Let's put it negative or too dark. Maybe not so much. We are also going to adjust the color or so that it doesn't add up so much. Okay, there's something in the general tone of the metal that we're going to touch, just like we've touched from here before with a filter. HSL only in color. Let's do the same. HSL and we touch here. The tone. I don't care if it goes a little bit to green, because since it's going to be there with wood that has some mold, it makes a little bit of sense. The saturation a little bit higher to stylize it a little bit more. And let's see how the light is. I think it's fine as it came, 0.5. What I will do is that the mold will have some relief, I think. That is this. Now we are going to activate the height and we are going to give it out a little bit of relief. Let's see how much noise this is. Maybe it's too much. We overdid it. Okay, it looks like it's a lot. And even if you adjust the height here, let's see. Okay, it's also blending in with what's underneath it, and I'm not interested in that, so I'm going to change the mode to normal. Is so that what comes underneath doesn't affect it well. Of course, it's all above it, should go above it. Here we are going to see the height. Normal plus height. In normal mode, everything below it is going to be ignored. But maybe it's too much. Let's do just a little bit. And I think we are going to blur all of this filter. Blur filter. Or there is another blur that is also interesting. Is the directional blur. To give more of a blurry effect rather than something so intense. The blur can also be useful to disguise other stains that are very intense and become more integrated. Okay, let's go to the color. I'm going to lower a little bit there. And I think that the stains should be bigger. The only thing that I'm missing now, let's touch the scale. Something more like this, okay. And I don't know if we have to touch the basic metallic. Let's see. Metallic here. Okay. I think the round scratches have been lost a little bit. Let's look for them. They are these. Exaggerated a little bit like this. Base color, height, roughness. I think that as they are in normal mode, they are all crushing. Let's go to roughness. That's it, and I think it blended in a little bit more than the other stuff. Let's see if in overlay a multiply. Soft light, something like that, mixed in a little more. And that's it. Okay. Okay, I think we pretty much have it. So we can go to the top layer and add here a fill layer to everything. Just the color. Let's put a sharp with a filter. Just to sharpen color here. We have to deactivate the color here, sorry, and here in sharpen. Let's see if we don't overdo it with the sharp. We have to set it to pass through so that it works there. Now you see the sharpen. I like it on the metal, but not so much on the wood. Let's lower it. A little bit roughness and metallic. Okay. Okay, so let's try it with this. I'm going to save it. I can export as we had it set up the other time. For now, because this is going to be just for Blender. Although, it can be configured for Unreal, but we are going to leave it for another separate lesson, not to make so much. As we had it export. Save here, also go to Blender. And in Blender, the good thing is that we can select the texture. If you are in world, it will go back to object. We select an object with this texture. By clicking on any texture box and doing Alt-R, it will recalculate and refresh the new textures. We do not need to go one by one. If we do it in an Alt-R, it is enough. Then we would have our changes. Let's see. The stripes are perfect. Okay, so I believe that it is enough for the next class start, or to dedicate ourselves to make compositions. And then before moving everything to Unreal, we will explain how to export material, and then we will assemble it there. So that's it. See you in the next lesson. Bye. What's up, fellows? Yeah, we are going to continue with our modular asset. We are going to take the next step, which is to start making more compositions. We had made like a super basic box really well. We had put some rivets and so on. We could do a little better. But well, we are going to focus now more than polishing the shapes and creating all the shapes. And then we will give it a little more grace and refine a little more and refine a little bit more and optimize and so on. We are going to create here a new collection. I'm going to call this one box 1. I'm going to make another collection with the C, and I think I'm going to create here another variation of the box 2 box. I'm going to take these pieces over there. And I'm going to give it to box 3 where I have box 2 is, and we're going to have another box. Well, as we already had here, it's more or less constructed. So really what I'm going to do is start from this one. No. Control C. Control V. I'm going to remove all the metal plates. And I can even try to put some metal planks here, some metal slats or some metal beams as reinforcement up here. And let's see, to rotate it to 90. I can put them like over here, but these boards are going to be better placed. To make it a little more credible and look like a real lid. Are 90 worth care that I have it in individual origins? Change to median points are 90 now, yes. That this actually looks a little bit bigger as a lid. Then we'll get into making variations from here so it's not exactly the same box. But as I was saying now, it is better to focus on the form. This metal sheet, I can put it here a little bit stretched out. There. Another one further back, we're going to rotate it. And like this. And now I can put these rivets on them. Over here. A little bit smaller, and there is one. Other rotate. Other rotate. And now it duplicates it backwards. That's here, we could already vary and so on, but well then later on after. Okay, this one. These 3 and these 3 below. I will reuse them for, there's another metal plate that I'm going to put. Like this way. I'm going to change it to individual origins. We're going to scale them up and place them. There is 1, 2, and 3. Also, in this, I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to erase it because since I've scaled the others, I'm going to take advantage of them. Okay, we are going to make the lid a little bit wider. There. And this backwards, but wait, before we are going to 1, 2, and 3 we duplicate. And then now we are not going to carry all of it. And we're going to finish earlier. Like this. Okay, let's remove the individual origins median points. 180. And these I duplicate. Rotate 90 and Z. We place them here that are at the same height, a little more sunken if that is the case. Something like this, and duplicate them on the other side. And maybe we don't need to do it as it is, but okay. Let's see how this box configuration looks like. What happens if I make them a little bit smaller to see individual origins? We are not going to leave them the same width. Protrude a little less, or rather, either they protrude more. There you see, with this we already have one more variant I am going to save. And now I'm going to make another box 3 collection. Oh, actually this is infinite. We can do as many variations as we want to do. I'm going to take advantage, and I'm going to take this and all this. Sorry, a copy of this. Shift D. A box 3. In this, do a box 3. Then we can start from here to make another one, for example. We can delete the slats. Same as the top cover. Well, it will be easier to duplicate it since it is already adjusted. And here then we can put one of the broken boards. Okay, and here then this same one also broken. Rotates to 180 so that it is not seen that it is the same. A little bit scaled a little bit. Here we can also duplicate these two pieces. I will rotate 90. I can break here. We adjust well, and this one, it would have to be this piece here. For example, or even take this one here that looks like it's split in the middle. And then, as I said, a little bit more rotated, a little bit more graceful in general, but well, here we can maybe put the corner edges 1, 2. I'm going to rotate it. Maybe they don't look good at the top, but they do look good at the bottom. For example, there. And it could be one more. This already boxes those that you want. You can make 300 if you want different ones. Okay, let's move on to something else. We can make, for example, we can make a barrel. It occurs to me, let's create a collection. Barrel 1. Okay, and to make the barrel, we need the boards. I'll be right there. Here, that is where I had the tables. Be placed. Shift D and take it with the M to barrel 1. Okay, we also need these pieces. And now what we are going to do is we are going to add enough tables to be able to turn around. We are going to make a 180-degree rotation so that we can make a circle and close. I don't know how many boards I'm going to need. I guess a couple more than the ones that are coming in. Let's try with something like this. What I'm sure they're going to have to do is to place 3D cursor. Well, the origin here, or to do it through an empty, we are going to try with a empty Shift A, empty arrows, and now join all these. The Ctrl J. Now they are all joined. And then here we are going to add the modifier of simple deform. This one above the triangulate. Well, triangulate was for the bakes. You can disable it temporarily. And well, with this modifier that you have, that this is twisting and even, these tables could be used to make a bridge if you wish. It really goes a long way. This is not the deformation we are looking for. It is not a twist. We are looking for a bend. Well, in fact, you could also make a good barrel. It is that to see the possibility that has this, we're going to change the axis in X, Y, and Z. That is, okay, in 360 degrees to close the hole. Okay, there. And we would have the barrel if you see that there are only a few tables. Then we are adding more, for example, selection is duplicated, and I take it here. Okay, be careful with the auto snap lest we bring two vertices too close together, and they stick together, and it is not what we look for. Okay. Okay. It closes quite well. I don't think we need empty, just in case we can use the, at the origin, this empty, to be able to adjust the size of the barrel in this way. Well, the best thing to do is to compare it with a Shift 2 box, which is where I have a box, and adjust more or less the forms now that give you a barrel shape. And here we are going to add a modifier of lattice. For this, I recommend to use the simple lattice add-on that you have in Lootbox in the Discord. And right-click Create Lattice is an add-on that, as I said, makes you the whole lattice system instantly. You do not have to be creating the box or link it or anything else, just simply right-click on it, Create Lattice, and it will create a lattice around the object. Okay, let's put the triangulant back underneath. And in the lattice options, by clicking on the lattice, we go to the lattice and tell it that we want a lattice of 3 and here 3. As the object is already linked, you see the lattice to this lattice. In fact, you can change the name if you want so that it is not a F2 mess. And instead of simple lattice, they did a bare lattice in case we have more, so do not confuse them. Bare lattice is there. Associated, then we enter the lattice, we enter edit, and now we will be able to select all the edges, all this loop and scaling to give it the shape of a barrel, as it is very polygonal, so obviously we will have to add yet a couple of, sorry, from here, not from here, some cuts over there. Here we can play with the lattice, something like this. I think that this way, it already has enough barrel shape. Okay, this one and this one are repeated to me. Let's see. That I have just gone to to put two tables the same, and I didn't realize it. Let's activate the add-ons for a moment. A okay, because it's the last one, and the first one okay, I didn't notice it. Okay, so then this one. I will rotate 180. Now looks like the other 90. Sorry? From 180 to there. And I'm going to lower it. And I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. Okay, now. Here and here. In general, we will put this lattice, this object more in the center, and then we will adjust it well. There. Now we are going to save in one of these metal plates. We are going to do the same thing. We're going to add the same effect to make this work. So I'm going to take this to the Alt-G center. We're going to see where we want the height of this barrel to be. So it could be one barrel that goes over here or so. And another one down there so we can double up. And do Shift D and leave it here. It may not be the same because we rotated 180 and place it. Something like this. And now I am going to copy the modifiers of this one, select the other one with Shift Ctrl L, and copy the modifiers to it. Well, that is what is happening, that we don't have enough geometry. We are going to deactivate everything for a moment. Out, and out. Oh, okay, the arrangement is wrong. Not here, here instead. Okay, it's going to have to be done in two parts because otherwise we're going to have to stretch this out a lot. And it's not going to look good then. We're going to do it in two parts, I think that now. And now since we don't have geometry, we will have to add geometry to this object. Let's see the modifiers there here. And with Ctrl R, we add a couple of cuts. Another pair of cuts here. Another couple of cuts here. Now if we see that we lack geometry, well, the bottom one the same. A couple of cuts here. Let's isolate that. I don't see a couple of cuts here. And a couple of cuts here. Okay. As it's very much because this has to be done in two parts. Let's take it down to the middle, that this is a little more humane, up to 180. If we will not be forcing too much, and we are going to add a mirror modifier, but it is worth so that it makes us the mirror as the pivot is here, then we will have to instruct it to use this empty as a center so that here in the mirror that should be above of the triangulate. In mirror object, we click on E and click on empty. Now, yes, it is there more or less in the center, and we can adjust it a little bit more in edit. There. Now then, I think that's better. If we move it in object mode, it will go inward a little bit. It might be good for us. Maybe we can even squash it a little bit. In Y, it looks a little bit flatter, a little bit. And bring it in a little bit more, but it doesn't show up on the other side. Okay, as this is depending on the lattice, if for any reason we touch the lattice, then great, because it will be deformed. Together with the lattice, another thing I don't like is that this is very straight, is because it doesn't have this geometry here. We add some geometry cut through the center. Well, this will improve then. I'm going to make a selection, and I'm going to right-click Subdivide. So that you see here, it already puts a subdivision, and here the same one. Alt-Z transparency mode, and subdivide. Let's see if it has not generated us nothing strange. Well, the only thing is that it is true that we can optimize this a little bit. If we make a merge collapse, we go and activate the UV to maintain the UVs. We check the rest. Everything is fine. And here in the back, the same. To optimize a little bit more, we collapse with the UVs option enabled. And at the top, we do the same. We look for this zone. Collapse. A collapse. Anyway, when we are optimizing, all the faces that are not visible will be deleted. Are going to be erased, but well, for the moment, we have with that okay. What else can we do to this one, so man? Since we have this little piece, we can place it over there. Okay, there. And maybe we can put it with this other one to rotate. No, it is not necessary to rotate them because they are square. I'm going to squash it a little bit. I'm going to take it out like this and we are going to hook this one here a little bit more to the back, upwards to see. Or even with another one of these to see Alt-R to reset the rotation position. Rotate. If we put this in here, how's it look? It's often playing with this kind of thing, isn't it? I think it looks better. I like one going through the other one a little bit bigger, more outwards. And this one, we erase it. And on the other side, for the same reason, 180, excuse me, median point 180 and Z. And finally, to finish off our barrel, we are going to put these rivets. Okay, but to place them so that it's not a hassle to go one by one, I think we can do it. With an array and a curve. Okay, let's create. Well, we select first the center of the scene. It is going to be this shift A. We are going to create a curve. It has to be a circle. This one has to have the size of the barrel more or less to match it. Scale. There. More or less apply rotation and scale. Ctrl A, apply rotation and scale. And now, if I place this here in the center, let's isolate these two pieces. Let's place it up here. We are going to use the array modifier to add on top more counters. Well, how many? So instead of putting them with a number, we can tell it to make them through the fit curve. We tell you which curve is with the E. Oh, and it is not going to put a number according to the curve, as the curve has a lot of geometry. Then it will put many circles, so I do not know if it is going to be the best. But well, we are going to stay with that for the moment. And now we are going to associate this object with the curve modifier, as usual, by put on top of the triangulate, and we tell it that this curve is this one. It has put them there. They are upside down, so let's set it to X. Nope. Let's see if we find the right axis. And let's put it in other axis if not X. Well, let's just leave it at X and rotate the object itself this way. We are going to give it to that we want to see it and rotate it 180. And I'd be facing out. What else we want? It's a lot of quantity. So let's give it an X factor. So that there is less repetition, we increase with the shift slowly until the number, up to the number, so that it is more or less pleasant. Let's see. Here more or less, right? That there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 can be, well, if we see that it is not enough, it is okay to put a little more or a little less. Depends on how many we want. Okay, if you see that it's too squashed, nothing happens. We enter edit and adjust the shape a little bit, and that's it. Okay. There we would have our rivets. I think there's one under here that bothers us. Well, that's okay because it will be erased. So for the time being, we can leave it there or adjust the number. Something else like this so that there is more quantity there, so that the diagonals are covered. And this in save, and we're going to duplicate it down. For this to work, we'll need to select also the curve. Shift D and this curve, obviously we need to adjust it to the size of the one below. In this case it is the same, but if not, we could adjust the size and that's it. Here below it is good for us that there is one in the center to disguise the cut. So, hey, perfect. Okay, here I see that it doesn't quite go all the way around. We are going to adjust it. We can go into edit. We scale a little bit. We move a little bit. There, we would already have it with this barrel so that we can see the trap. We're going to put lids on it. I'm going to copy the ones from this box, for example. Shift D, and I take it to barrel 1. And this barrel, we will do it like this. And we would have it covered there. What happens that, of course, now we can see the whole trap of the box. So we will have to cut this geometry. As we already have a circle created, I'm going to save. We are going to cut with this circle that we already have. We can use it for cutting. As the first thing is, let's merge these 3 pieces, Ctrl J. We are going to make a duplicate of this circle. D. And with this circle and this duplicate, we're going to make a cut. Okay, the first thing is this circle, adjust it to where we want to cut in this case. Enter edit and scale. We want to cut more or less around the middle of it. And now, yes, this circle and this piece, we select both that. Yes, that the active one is geometry, not the curve. We enter edit. We go to this mesh and click on knife project. As you can see, it has projected that circle there. So now it is as easy as doing Ctrl I to invert the selection. And with the X, we delete. Okay. We are going to refine a little bit more. Also, in case the inverse selection has not ended up working well. We delete. If for whatever reason the knife project has failed a little bit, it does not pass anything these polygons that remain because they are adjusted by hand. This, we will move it with GG. Let's see. or we are going to move it just like that. Click G. Here I take it to the inside. Think that this part is not going to be seen. It looks a bit messy this way, but all this geometry is not going to be seen. Here it has been able to cut well. Here, not so good. Then we will take a good look at which parts are visible and which are not, and what can be done. Okay, because maybe I am worrying about some things that are not really seen here. See here, for example, yes, I have removed too much. I will click on F. We'll do the filling for us, so no problem. And I think that this way, it looks pretty good. And we can make the bottom lids the same. Alt-D. And this we turn it over. 180. And put the lid on. I will save. We are going to see how it is going to look like you see how good it looks. And so we are going to create a lot of variations. In fact, we can create an infinite number of them. But to keep it short, I see that you more or less understand how this is working. So I'm going to create the last one for the moment, which is going to be because we could try to make maybe something more complex. Let's try to make a chest and see how it looks like. A little more complicated, but well, it can be done. Okay. Now, so let's create a new collection, and I'll put this lattice in here. Just as we have seen before, we can make variations of the barrel. But hey, new collection, let's make a chest. And I'm going to need these pieces for sure. There. And also, the boards that we have here, and this also that I have lost it, I believe. And we duplicate it and take it there. Here. Okay. To make the chest, well, then it occurs to me that it can be a wood lying down. Another one too. 90. Okay, it could be 2 or 3. Let's duplicate it again. 180. Let's put them together well. I'm going to flatten a little bit. And we're going to put on the edges a piece of support. Another 80. Okay. These 3 tables are the same. And this is the same for the back. From the top view there, it's going to be a little bit narrower. So I'm going to do it kind of like here in the middle, and here's the middle. And now I duplicate these 3 tables by 90 degrees over there. If you don't want to squash them too much, which is normal, because if you don't, it's going to get a little bit smashed. First, I'm going to rotate them. We can cut them without further ado. Both for the geometry and for not having to flatten something so much. So now when we put the left, we will cut them. Let's hit the boss Shift D. We rotate. $90, a little more flattened. Just like before, if I see that I have to squash a lot, I prefer to cut it. And that's alright because it's not even going to be seen from above, so I can make a cut here, for example. And erase. And that's it. This flattens it in Z. And now I can upload this piece. No problem. It's not going to be seen because I'm going to put another piece on top of it. In case you are not going to do it, then be careful. In this one would be 1 here, another 1, I will rotate it. And here, we duplicate. Pull in this strip that crosses from side to side. And these boards are the ones we have to cut. We're going to join them together and we're going to cut with the K. A to make a straight line there, and Z to make a straight line to the room through. We apply, we go to enter, and there we have our cut. We are going to select the best that we can. Is there, and we erase in here the same. Let's go to the K, to the C, the Z, enter. And make the best cut we can. Okay, now yes. I'm taking it to the bottom. Here we are missing another one of metal. We are going to lower this a little bit there. I'll take this. I'll duplicate this. Rotate 90, hui. And Z90. I'm going to place it anyway, but since I'm going to cut it, I'm going to reuse this one that is already cut. 90. And I'm going to cut it here. It hasn't made a completely clean cut. Okay. Okay, let's cut it with the K. The Z there. Let's repeat it from below. Either not another time that I have not put the Z, I missed it. To see the is there. Enter. One over here and another over there. At the bottom. Can be made of wood, can be made of metal if we can make it out of wood. Let's select the boards. Or this one, and let's see if I can select this one. This one and this one. Okay. 90. And there would go the lid. I'm going to save. And now the slats on top, that will be these whole ones. One over here, we duplicate. Another one over there. Well, if you want, I can turn it around. And again, the corners. And slats. And here, I don't know why we give it laths or metal beams, but come on. Okay. Then we would have there as the base of the chest. And now we have the most difficult part, which is to make the top piece. We are going to put a side view of this. I am going to take it over here. This also, I'm also going to duplicate this. Let's put it R90 degrees there. Here. And we're going to try to shape this. Okay. Let's see if we can. First of all, I make a duplicate in case I have to repeat. Save. And now we are going to try to rotate from this point. Here we will choose 3D cursor. . Remove the 3D cursor. Media point set here. All this. There. Other. And here's another rotation. This time from here. 3D cursor. Let's rotate there. Okay, I removed the 3D cursor, media point. Let's adjust this. Okay, something like this is too high. I'm going to flatten it a little bit. I'm going to lower it. Let's adjust. Okay, this should be the lid that should be bigger, so it will go about there. And this, of course, should be in the middle of it. So we're going to move everything a little bit more. A little bit more. And this, I think we're going to cut it in half there. How we flatten this? And with GG. And more or less, I cut the faces. We add a mirror. Okay, as the pivot is not in its place, I Alt-click. Cursor deselected with Shift-S. And down. And hit Origin. Origin to 3D cursor. Okay. Let's select clipping in the mirror. And we will see if the normals do something strange for this mirror. Probably yes. So most likely we'll end up putting a piece in the middle like these. And that's it. And here, nobody has seen anything. Okay. And we are going to make the covers because we can reuse this part. I think I'm going to rotate 180. Okay, I'm with the 3D cursor, median point. We will have to cut them to the right size. We are going to be more careful with this object because if it is opened, we don't want the inside to be a mess. We're going to put this out of the way for a moment. That makes a little bit of sense on the inside of these boards. Have to go more this way. Right there. Here, a little bit more inside, a little bit more. Now check if I have positioned it correctly from the outside. I think so. Okay, and now, as before, we are going to cut these pieces. These head over here. With the K, the C is not really needed. C. Here, yes. It doesn't make it straight there, no good. If we don't disable the C, it's already there. Here. And here we go to enter. And all this is going to be left over. Right, we don't need to be very precise with this as long as we don't miss anything. That half to another layer there. Okay. Well, all this, you can do it more precise later. Now it doesn't matter that much. And we'll take it well. We're missing the bottom lath. This one I think is cut, so we need a whole one of this. Be careful with the scales, we can't overdo it either. Maybe it is a little bit smaller. There. Let's see what's going through here. Okay, this piece. Bigger. Boards. This one, it's bothering here all the way in the middle. Shift D. Up to here. We are going to miss now. The closures back here. Shift D. We are going to rotate them if it is not going to be very noticeable. And that is that they are the same. We are going to flatten them a little bit. More or less. The chest has to be able to close so that this, otherwise you will see what chest can be levered right away. To see, and actually to see is stylized, to see if you can do a little bit more like this. But I'm afraid that when the cover is lifted, it will look a little weird. We are going to leave it as well as we can. Let's fix this. And now the boards. We are going to select the ones we already have. If I can already with so many objects. No. Now, selection yes here. We duplicate that, and we are not going to place these little boards with the shape of the chest. There one. This one we rotated. Another one we are going to see if we have to take it out or put it in, and a little bit like that. We would have to see it. And R90, no, I will not turn around. To have this little piece outwards like this that I like. Here is one in the center that is a little bit wider. I don't know if it's going to give us the width to... I don't want the textile density to break down too much, so I'll go to adjust them well. And these. And this one. We duplicated, rotated 180. And placed them there. A little bit more to the bottom. There now. We can put here. So that we can open the chest. And of course, just like we did before, one like this. And another one like this. So let's take it out a little bit more. There. Okay, then of course. Rivets, then whatever you want. We are finding it hard to select lately. That should not be a problem there. Shift D. 180 and then. And now. Shift D. This one we rotate. And these we duplicate. and 180. No, sorry, 90, 90, 90. There are a little less there. Yeah, we will be able to add more extras, and more rivets and more stories, but I don't think so for the moment. We can go more than enough. Let's delete this already. We save. And we have our little chest. The floor, we had it over there. Here, I'm going to take it to the general collection so that it will always be seen. And then we have all the assets. Okay. As I say, more variations, more things as shield, I don't know what. That is to say, everything that has these two elements is only two elements. That's why I say that, really. It is a very simple exercise, but so that you can see that with 2 materials and 3 pieces, well, 6 of them, which have been very few, you can make an infinite number of assets. In the next class, let's take this to Unreal. We are going to assemble the shader. Let's see how it looks, and when we really like it, we will give it the final touch of adjusting, defining, breaking, etc. So I hope you are liking it. See you soon. Best regards. What's up, fellows? Let's continue with our composition of boxes, barrels, and chests, all to be exported to Unreal Engine or Unity. Okay, we had like a first approximation of what we wanted to export, but we need to refine it a lot. We need to polish it a little bit more. Polished everything. And there are missing rivets. It would be necessary to give a little variety to the tables. I do not know. I believe that it would be necessary to give a revision before exporting. In addition, we also have to adjust the textures to the Unreal format of Unity to have them packaged and not to have a PBR with all the maps loose. And finally, we would have to make collisions. But well, we are going to focus in this video on what is the composition and leave this a little bit better. We had put here like some nails, so we'll have to be more careful. So that it doesn't float, we will have to be more careful. Now is when we are at the point of to refine it a little bit more. So we are going to go one by one and leave everything as good as possible. We adjust it. See when it starts to get in there. And with the boards we could do a little bit the same. Maybe we could rotate one a little bit. For the only care that if we get holes in there, so we'll have to adjust the size of this board. Scale it a little bit big, a little bit alone, so that it fills all the hole that we are leaving by putting it a little bit more diagonally. We can compensate with the other one that also goes a little bit diagonally. This one goes in front, this one also. Perfect. On top a little bit, all the same, right? At the top, give it a little bit of variety to make it more credible, right? But then be careful with this kind of thing that we are seen there through. Maybe it's not easy to simply erase the interior, which will have to be done to optimize. As far as the interior is concerned, be careful that as long as your object is not opened, right? Because in this case, okay, it will not open. But in this one, we'll probably want to have the lid separate or something like that so we can lift it. Or have the lid fall off or make variations. With the lid on and the lid off, right? Even inside an object that has its own variations. So now we'll eliminate this, no problem. First, we're going to get the whole exterior right. This, for example, this one is the same as this one, so we're going to rotate it. We are going to make sure that there are no repetitions of this type. This one is the same. We are going to put it in at 90. so that it is a little more varied. Okay, this table is up here. No. So it's okay because it's difficult to see this table and this one at the same time. And we go a little bit off. Anyway, this thing that I scaled at the beginning, that I said we scaled it a little bit. Let's see. If I Alt S, we recover the original scale. Another thing we can do is simply, if it's an interior and here we're going to see the hole, make an interior box with wood texture and that's it. If we see that we want to give the effect of that the interior can be seen, but we don't want to touch too much the resolution of the scale of things, which is normal, otherwise the texel density will be ruined. If we see that it's a little, nothing happens, but if it's a lot, perhaps it is in our interest to do it differently. In this case, I think we could put a box inside. Like, let's see. I'm going to take this to the center. I'm going to create a cube here. Edit. Scale. Let's see. Compute. Okay. And I'm going to continue with the inside. In order for us to cover all the holes, Alt is selecting one of the faces. So we'll push it out or push it in. Here, down Alt S. Up here, Alt S, for example. And this, we assign the material of our wood and map it. Let's map it to a place where it's dark. Let's see for a second. This is showing us the metal texture. So like a piece of dark wood. This is at the bottom. It's okay to do it like this. It's not going to show. Something like that, right? Oh, it's dark colored. So now, as long as board is removed. Let's see. What about this? Ah, okay, sorry. I only selected one face. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let's do it with a frontal projection. Okay, now I've got them all. We've projected all the faces from the view. That's why we have to do an orthographic and frontal view. Now that it looks dark here. So now the tables. If we leave a gap, well, nothing will happen, because the background will look dark there. This, in addition, with the same ambient occlusion of Unreal or Unity, because nothing will be seen. So now, if we want to exaggerate a little bit more, we have a little more freedom to do it. It can be interesting. And now, well, we are going to change the rivets on these nails to the other side. I'm going to rotate it with the 3D cursor with the full stop shift to 3D cursor. Shift D, I cancel, but they are there duplicated. And now RZ90. I'm going to duplicate again. RZ90. And so I've got them more or less in place. Shift D, RZ90. I think there's one that's buried in here. I changed this to median point. And this, well, we can move them, change them, whatever we want. We have to adjust them, yes, but with the rest of them, we can put them where we want, or not put them, or give it the variety that we want. We can even touch the scale a little bit. Now we will do it all at once. First, I'm going to place them. Here we see the part that we had painted by hand, which must be done to the rest of the pieces. But when we go back to Substance Painter before exporting, well, I'm going to go over that. And still, when we export to Unreal or Unity, probably, depending on the lighting that we have, or the scene or whatever, I will want to adjust a little bit, because of course, in the end, it's not the same, neither seeing it in Blender or in Substance Painter than to see it in Unreal in your scene, with a different shader or whatever. There's always like a final adjustment when you've exported everything. We might as well put them on top, but well, let's leave it like this. Let's see if we can select them here, because they will have name. Okay, rivets only. Select all. Ah, look, we've overselected, not these. AC and center button. Okay, see? Save. We select all and go to F3 and enter. Randomize, transform, randomize. Now here we choose scale. Then let's change the scale a little bit. Random scale. Guess and Z. Put it all in one. And go up a little bit so that the values are very low, like 4 or something. Just to change it up a little bit. Let's see, 1.5. Okay, this is so that they're not all the same. If not, we can always just go in by hand, install them a pin, and that's it. If there are only a few, well, they can be done by hand. If there are a lot of them, then we have to look for more automated solutions. And now, to finish preparing this Unreal, we have to make sure that our object has only one material. We have some objects with 2 materials, checker or with a modular copy. To first clean up the materials, let's go to this Blender file. But we are going to look for the materials, and I'm going to leave just this one. All the others, we can delete them with right click and delete. Is that okay? Well, now they all have to have yes or yes. Our modular material, and if you don't have it, it will be white and it will be easy to locate. So now we just have to look for the ones that have 2 materials and delete this material. And we can go back to our view layers. And from here at the top, go down with the arrow. Actually, for Unreal, we don't really need to have a material because we are really going to create it there. Here it is more than anything to be able to see it in Blender and be able to continue working. But really, when we export to Unreal, or when we import to Unreal, more like, we will say that it does not create us any material, and we already manage it directly in Unreal. Now we have it clean. We can do it individually as I have done. Anyway, as we are going to join the object, so when we have all the geometry image, we can delete it directly with a single geometry, and this is going to be easier. I will save, and I'm going to join everything to a single object. But first, let's delete the faces that are not seen or that are behind our object. But I'm going to start with the top tables. I'm going to select one of the bottom ones, a face, Shift, E similar selection, and we are going to choose by normal. We will have selected all the ones that are facing down. If we raise the threshold here, we can increase the selection. And the missing ones are selected by hand. Remember that we have the triangulate modifier for the bakes. It can stay there, there is no problem. The only thing we have to make sure is that we are not going to erase anything that we see. If it looks orange, I've selected it, so if we see something, we could remove it. Here we already have it. Let's go to X and delete those faces. We will be optimizing quite a few polygons. I'm going to make it a little bit cleaner maybe. Let's go over here. And we can do the same for all of them. For everything in this box that we're not going to see the inside. If we were to see the inside already, another rooster would sing. We can also do this already knowing that this is the final compo. And now we would like to flip the table. We would not have a problem because we have a copy of the tables and we can simply copy it and add another one. I'm going to merge everything together. Ctrl J. Let's make sure that this box is well in the center. Let the feet rest on the center, G, Z, and right above. It is important for the pivot to be in the center of the world. Shift S cursor to world origin. And now, set origin to 3D cursor. Okay, to make the 3D cursor, it is who says where the origin has to be. In this case, it is the center of the scene for when we place our objects. In Unreal is simple. Always have it as the base. I'm going to make a new folder called original. In here, I'm going to put our box01 objects. We can delete this one if you want. And let's go to 02. I'm going to assign Drillel in this material. I'm not going to worry about to eliminate this just because of what I was telling you. Then we'll put it all together and we can delete it from there. This one, I think I'm interested in having a cover that you can see the inside of it. I think it might be interesting too. I'm going to delete this plan now. We will have to be a little careful. In the case of this box, we will have to be especially careful. Because if we are going to make these lids take out to see inside, we will have to see what elements are being seen inside and if they are being seen well or not. For example, this lid. Right now you're seeing the sheet metal. Do we want that? If we don't want them to be seen, we will have to eliminate polygons by cutting here. A little bit dangerous because the boards don't cover completely. It is possible that we can see a little bit the trick in the holes. What we can also do is scale them up a little bit, so that at least if anything were to be seen, here for example, you can still see, because you can see that there is a metal plate. We can rotate this a little bit and make it a little more rickety. They are wooden boxes. They can be like this for a while, crooked and so on. Apart from, I can see that they are not all at the same height. I can make sure that they are not all at the same height. To break here a little bit the straight piece. Do you see the hole already there? Well, it's good that you can see the metal plate at the top. Here I may have overdone it a bit. You may also want to alt just a little bit up there and that's it. Just like before, we are going to give a little variation to this. Look carefully how the two tables are mixed so that we don't get something strange. This is because maybe we didn't reach the length. A little bit. This. A little bit that way. Alright, but here should be the same. Right now these are sticking out there. If we were to remove the cover, all of these would be sticking out. Maybe we need to select them or lower them or scale them all a little bit. And here on the inside, we have to adjust all of this so that it doesn't not be seen. Scale up a little bit here. And so, we are going to leave this as a more final, more refined, so that they are not just a few boards just thrown there, so that they have a little bit of care. We can activate proportional with the O and lower it a little bit or move it a little bit. Or we move it a little bit, so in proportion to everything. And here it's the same. For example, if we want to remove this part here, proportional, we will be able to push everything proportionally so that this sticks out a little bit more. And here it goes through the same. Even in some table, we can select for the center and bulge it. If we have the resolution to do it, then go ahead. Well, then we will have the effect that some table is a little bit bulging. It can be interesting. Or this one, so that it doesn't bump into this one. We can hit it a little bit over the top. And now these metal rivets, as there are a few of them. So I will randomly select several, and I'm going to scale them. Of course, in individual origins. And let's see, this still goes through here. We can also select Shift G here. Normal. And this with the proportional, we push a little bit. There. And it would also work, wouldn't it? Same Shift G normal. So that it doesn't look ugly, and that's it. Here is a table that crosses us this one. It goes down a little bit. And now this kind of thing make a little bit of difference in whether an asset is more care. And for example, it's all at the same height. I don't like it very much. I'm going to raise it a little bit. I think that's where we would have our cover. Build these. I'm going to put median point again. Scale this one, and this smaller one. I'm going to remove here so that the slash doesn't match the rivet. Otherwise, it's kind of weird how that slash was made. But well, this is like a little bit of a fine line. So important, this object must be joined but in two halves. We are going to make two objects inside one. This will be one. Ctrl J. An asset must be selected, for example, Ctrl J. Cursor to world origin. And this one will have the pivot at 0, 0. We're going to look to see that it's well supported. It's a little high. I'm going to select everything, edit. I activate the proportional with the O. And raise everything so that it's right in the center. And now, yes. Cursor to world origin and origin to 3D cursor. And we join all these pieces at the bottom. These pieces are already joined. And now we're going to work on the lid. The lid doesn't have to have the origin on it. It should have it down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it all together. This board, for example. We're going to go into Edit, and we're going to lower the lid down to there, because we're going to place this directly in Unreal. The lid, and as we have played from edit mode, origin will remain in this place. Okay, now yes, we go to materials. We eliminate this one. And in the case of the box, the same. This is going to be box O2 on the lid. Box O2 tape. We can add a suffix or directly tape or something like that, even if it is in this position. When we export, then it will be placed in Unreal. So it is normal that it is there. Do not export it with the object up here. No. It's not worth it. It's better there, and then whatever needs to be placed in Unreal is placed. And in this way we have the variety that we have taken two objects out of one, and it can be with or without a lid. The lid can be up here, it can be leaning to one side. I don't know. You can make more combinations. Let's take this. There. And eliminate this collection and go for the next one. Same as before, Ctrl L. Materials. This one didn't convince me very much. I think it needs to be fixed a lot to make it look like a real broken box. I think that it doesn't look like a real broken box with this metal parts. I don't know. Let's see what I can do with this. The first thing I'm going to do is put plates on it. I'm going to go get them. And I'm going to take them here to box 3. These to hold like wood, otherwise we'll be floating. And it should be nailed, and you would have to put rivets and so on. So we're going to do it with sheet metal. And now let's look at the parts that are broken. The first thing is that the other side is not visible. If it has to be scaled up a little, it is scaled up. But I think the best thing to do is for it to be completely open at the top, and that's it. There are some breaks. I'm going to duplicate these breaks and put us in more places. On the corner. And it could also be something like that. We're going to duplicate it. To make it look a little more disjointed. I will rotate the pieces here. They're more exaggeratedly. I'm going to lower this piece so that the silhouette that makes this a little bit more interesting, and you can see it in areas as well as the opening. It's also straight, so square. I don't know if these pieces are left over. They might be. In that case, we're going to use these. And I think that's better. So I take them out and I'm going to erase them. It even occurs to me that you can pick a table, duplicate it, and we can rotate it there and place it. As it has been split, it's all a little bit broken, right? Leaning there and in the hole. One of the broken ones. Double R. You know to rotate there in a way. Freely. Something like this. Let's select everything and join it to this table. We remove the leftover material and select everything and bring this over here. If we move it to the end, and this we can delete. Let's go for the barrel. The barrel we've already cut out as well. It might be interesting to have the lid separately in case we want to do the inside of the barrel. We would simply have to export the lids separately. Of course, as we have cut them, they cannot be put aside or made as a loose lid. We will simply have to have a version with and without. But well, I'm going to do it all together. And the first thing I'm going to do is convert. If we are sure that this is the end, we will convert everything to mesh. Before passing everything to mesh, if everything is in order, for example, this one here, we will be able to eliminate it. Or we are going to put it a little bit lower down here. And I'm going to scale this up a little bit and edit. Z. There. Edit mode. Fail. Get this one. I remove it. Here's something that's stretching me too much. And I would have to see what it is. Ah, it has no resolution. I add a couple of vertices here. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, it's like there's no resolution here. I don't know why. I'm going to cut there. Cut here. We unite. We join in G, G. I'm going to keep in the UVs G, G. And now, there, the same thing happens. And we can collapse this. We click auto snap. Well, I don't know. I must have missed this. I'm going to check that the same thing doesn't happen here. Curiously, the one below. I think it doesn't happen. Here, yes, what we can do is to select binormal and delete all the back parts because they are not going to be seen. Then we will optimize the geometry a little bit more. Okay, so let's convert everything to mesh. Object. Convert to mesh. This way we will apply all the modifiers. Maybe we are not interested in to have the triangulated collapsed, so before converting, we could remove it from the objects. Then we simply add it, and that's it. Now we close everything and convert to mesh. Object, convert to mesh, or add the favorites, which is interesting. Now we are going to apply the modifiers in order, and we will be able to remove the lattice. The pivot that we had put the Bezier here, all this, but we can take advantage now and remove what we have left over, like this one here, this one, these two. And I think that's fine. If I can leave it a little bit underneath there. And these ones, leave them there. I think they're fine. And add everything to a single mesh, Ctrl J. Now yes, we add the triangulate. A fixed alternate, which is the one with which we have thrown the bake. Let's adjust. And origin to 3D cursor. Okay, so this is going to be barrel 1. We move it to the end. And here we can go ahead and delete. Ctrl S. And we go for the chest. Okay, the chest. We have to fix these proportions. They're a little bit weird. I think it's like the lid is wider than the base. It's a little bit weird. So we're going to adjust all this. Let's see. Select. Nah, in fact, this one will also have to be done as 2 pieces. And this one we can either scale a little bit, or if we do not want to break the textile density too much, we should have margin to be able to move the wood strips. We're going to move everything forward. That's about it. And all this to the back. Let's select. We give this and we deselect with Control. Backwards, backwards, backwards. There. And here I had a little bit short. Center it. Oh, perfect. I lost the board. Now we look for it. Okay, now this has a little bit more chest proportions. And we're a little bit short. A little bit further back. And these boards that were cut. They were cut. Yes, they were cut. Let's adjust them. There. Okay, let's make sure we can't see any trap. Okay, now this locking piece. Now there's one. There's got to be the key, which should go with the lid. which is the piece here. This one and this one. They have to go with the top piece, I understand. And they hook with the bottom one, which is where the key goes. We should throw this in later, so we can move these two pieces. Let's see. Here it is. Go ahead, okay. It's a little bit further back. Now we'll look inside. Let's see how it is. Let's have a look. Now then, missing planks. At the back, at the bottom, we cut a little bit. Let's take a look inside. I'm going to hide the lid. And this, out, out, out. Here is the inside of the chest. This one is okay. This is in a hurry, but good. And these can be widened a little more. Make it inward, and this one the same. All ready to close there. The interior appears to be fine. We can go into edit. We can merge these tables. I'm going to remove the auto snap. Auto merge, I don't know what. By moving it, I mess up. We can rotate like this a little bit, so that there's some gap. A little bit like the inside, a little bit. Now it has a curious shape. We're going to put it all together in one. We are going to place it well in the center. First of all, it doesn't go through the floor, or so an origin to 3D cursor. That's it. It's 01. And now, let's go to the rest. Invert the selection. Easy to place first. This in place. Okay, let's see if it's all right over here. Okay, this board here crosses a little bit. Let's widen it and move it right there. That's the same right there. All good here and on the inside. No longer seen here. Metal parts. I don't know if it's interesting to see inside or not. I don't think so. I don't think so. No. So we adjust them so they don't show. Okay, this piece is to cover up this symmetry. Don't be so ugly. What we can erase, and I forgot, it's the whole part behind the rivets that is normally covered. The original idea was that the rivets could be made in both directions, that they can be put in
just like that. There hasn't been any occasion to put them in upside down. So the pieces that are not going to be seen, we're going to erase this. Very easy. With the L, we select the island and delete. Here we could even speed up the optimization by deleting the interior. But well, I think that with this we are already doing well. Do a little bit back. Now I'll see how it looks with the bottom piece. And here, I think I'm going to use the proportional. Now, I'm going to lower this table a little bit and that's it. And I won't have to complicate so much. I don't want it to go too low up there. I will make the proportional smaller. Even with Alt S, you can push, since with the proportional, it will drag the surroundings a little raised maybe. Bring it down a notch. Here it's mixing a little bit weird. At this table, let's see. It's not mixing very far either. If I select this from here up to here with control and with the proportional, I move it a little bit. It might be interesting. And here I'm going to sink it a little bit. We could even give this a bumpy shape. With the proportional like this, that might be an option. You see how versatile this module system is. System of modules. I think that's it. We are going to join everything in one. Control J. We'll take this down. I'm going to remove the proportional. Origin to 3D cursor. Materials, let's see. Out. We have two pieces there. Let's have a look. What happened? I have not converted mesh. And this had a mirror. Okay, that's okay. Let's select this piece. This piece. We separate it with the P. We gave it the mirror. Mirror. Above the triangulate. Then Y. And we apply the mirror. Control A. Okay, what else? Okay. As the lid pivots from back there. See, we're going to have to do the pivot, otherwise this is going to rotate wrong. So in these cases, 3D cursor does not work for us. Right in the center, we're going to have to take it back there. So, well, first, I'm going to reattach this to this. Control J. There. So, since we have it in the center, the origin, let's go over here. We're going to affect just the origins. And I'm going to move it on the axis. Wait. And I'm going to place it right where it should rotate. I think that for this to rotate, right, maybe the cover should be a little wider. I'm going to remove the origin for now. I'm going to scale it. A little bit. Move it to position from behind. Okay, and even if it crosses a little bit, enter edit. And this is what we're going to do. Take it back a little bit, so it doesn't overlap so much. Okay, and now, the pivot, so we have it there. We can do it like this, or we can select. From here, cursor to. Selected. And place the 3D cursor there, the origin there. Have cuts here, made by me. It doesn't stay in the center, so I think it's a better option to take it to the center. And then just align it to the middle. The one that rotates from there. And now if we rotate, so that would be it. Okay, this is it. Box, I mean chest 01. And chest 01. Tape, or tape. I don't know how we put in the end before. I'm going to bring this to the center. Alt G. And we move this to the end. And delete. I have the feeling that the chest is not very well centered. Now we will look at it. Oh yes, we had called it tape. Let's check that it's alright. And I get the feeling that it is not in the center. Let's see. Cursor to world origin. Let's create a reference box. This is the center. Hide here. It is not in the center, so I'm going to do it in edit. And I'm going to center this a little bit more. And the lid, same thing. That's better. Okay. It's better, as we have broken the pivots. Let's adjust them. Cursor to world origin, origin to 3D cursor. So what happens is that this piece is not centered. That's all. We move it there, and that's it. And the pivot. Okay, it's there. At 0. 0 and chest 01. Cursor to world origin. Origin to 3D cursor. Okay, that's fine. It's perfect. Okay. So there we go. The variations we have here. A copy of these pieces. That could even be exported to assemble in Unreal. But well, the thing is that in the next class, we will see how to port all this. How to set it up. We have to do the collisions first. So, save and see you in the next class. Best regards.